morning, everyone. This is Alessandro Crimi, and I'm interviewing today some gifted students from Zimbabwe, active in the machine learning community. And maybe it's easier if they introduce themselves and they start telling what they do. Maybe starting from Daphne, like who are you, what do you do, what's your relationship with Indaba, if you studied at AIMS Cameroon, so maybe remind to everyone what is AIMS and the Next Einstein Initiative.
Okay, thank you, Alex. So my name is Daphne Tatenda Machangara. I'm an AIMS alumna from the Cameroon group 2017-2019. So I am also part of the Deep Learning IndabaX, the Central Steering Committee, as a support growth lead for the Southern region. And from there, I'm also part of the organizing team for the local chapter here in Zimbabwe, the IndabaX Zimbabwe. So that's who I am. As an individual, I've been lecturing, and I'm also a researcher. I'm also into data analysis. I have my interest in data science. But originally, I'm from the Department of Statistics and Mathematics and Operations Research. So it's merging for me those mathematical sciences and transitioning and mixing with the data science. So that is me.
And maybe if you can also remind what is Indaba for the people that are not from sub-Saharan Africa or even Africa.
Okay, so for this Indaba, it's a community. So the community is aiming to strengthen data science in Africa in general. So we have the main IndabaX, and then we have local chapters. So we have different local chapters in different countries where we are trying to strengthen machine learning in our African countries, in our communities, and trying to bridge the gap between industry and academics. So that is mainly what IndabaX is all about in a nutshell. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And Leonard, do you want to introduce yourself?
Okay, my name is Leonard Mutambaningwe. I'm part of the Data Science Zimbabwe organization, which is a platform that we have been building the past few years to advocate for the take-up of data science for organizations in Zimbabwe, and also just trying to build the capacity, skills development within members for people who are interested in data science. My background is economics and finance, and that most of my interests also lie in that particular space. So applying data science, machine learning, artificial intelligence in more of a business context. So we've been lucky enough to be part of the community of Deep Learning IndabaX in Zimbabwe, especially. I think some of the events we have been part and parcel of.
Okay.
Yeah.
And more specifically in IndabaX, or also, I mean, you in general, what kind of activities have been carried out in Zimbabwe? Like there have been a hackathon, or you reading group, or whatever. What's happening in Zimbabwe for machine learning?
Yeah. So Data Science Zimbabwe has partnered with quite a number of organizations. So with Zindi Africa, which is data science competitions platform, with Ondina, which also runs AI for Good hackathons, as well as Deep Learning Indaba. And I think in the past year, we were able to do a hackathon, which was hosted by which was hosted by Zindi and sponsored by Zim Life, an insurance and finance entity in Zimbabwe. So that's what we're trying to always do at data science, and take advantage of these opportunities from these organizations, especially the external organizations, and try and use those particular platforms to help building skills for our membership in Zimbabwe.
So Zindi is very, or at least the activities introduced through Zindi are very. Has been very common in Zimbabwe. Has been very active.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And Daphne, you have other things to add, or?
Okay, I think Leonard has said most of the things. What I can just say is that is currently in Zimbabwe, we are having these communities come together, collaborating. Like, for instance, IndabaX Zimbabwe, we have the conferences and seminars, and we also invite data science communities, like for instance the Data Science Zimbabwe. So it's like there's so much that the communities are trying to do to come together and build machine learning and data science in general in the country. And like Leonard has said, yes, there are some competitions through Zindi that are ongoing, that have been happening, and people are taking part in those. And then on the IndabaX side, in terms of that, the IndabaX, it only started last year here in Zimbabwe. So it's still a process. This was our second edition this year. So we're still in the process, and yes, more will be coming and more is happening.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, we've been saying Zimbabwe in a very broad sense, but there are more specifically, there are something specific place where activities are happening, like University of Harare or University, I don't know, in University of Zimbabwe. So it's there are some cities that are more activity, or maybe for put it differently, for a student who wants to start something, wants to learn something or start a company, it's easier in Harare or all over another place of the country, or all the entire country is the same?
Okay, on that one, according to my own opinion, I feel like the institutions, they have their own different ways of appreciating data science. It's not every institution in the country that is having data science implemented or that is having data science related programs. So there are some institutions who haven't started the process in terms of having programs like those that have data science in them. So to pinpoint and say this exact university, I think it would not, well, I wouldn't be able to do that, but I'll just say in general, there are some who have implemented and who are in the process of implementing. So maybe for someone who wants to grow their data science skills, or someone who wants to be in the field, they can actually just do their research on the different institutions which are currently offering the data science related programs. So that's what I can say for now.
Okay, this is for learning, and for creating, like, let's say your own company. It's something still seen as complicated. Creating a company in general, or creating a company with data science, is something still seen very difficult from young people. From, let's say, someone's graduating from Ames, is coming back to Zimbabwe, or maybe graduated in Zimbabwe. How likely is this person, if he wants to start a company, I don't know, some small app on the phone based on machine learning, something like this? how easy it will be for this person?
Okay. On that one, I feel like it's a bit challenging. Of course, it's possible, but there are some hindrances or some limitations that exist. For example, I think there is an issue concerning data in general. Like, if you want there's some data sets that is not there, like there is no data set, or it's close to none, if I may say. So for someone maybe who has come and they want to start their own data related company, it's possible, but there are some limitations. And also maybe the issue of skills. If you want to build a team, I feel like there is some skills which we still need to learn. So basically, yes, that's what I can say.
The difficulty will be to acquiring data. I don't know if it's a medical thing or even something, some information data in the street. And skills, you mean like that someone with, let's say, a degree in mathematics doesn't know how to be an entrepreneur? You mean this?
No. They know how to be an entrepreneur.
So which skills we need more?
Okay, no, you were talking of you were mentioning the ML setup?
To build a company, like if you want to make a startup.
In general.
In general and with machine learning.
Okay, in general, yes, it's possible. People are actually having startups, people are actually teaming up, and it's really possible, that one. And what I was talking about was in relation to the ML side, that in terms of data set and some resources, there could be some limitations a bit, but it's also still possible.
Okay, so it's more related.
Yes.
The challenge for getting data and training models.
Yes.
Okay. And when you say that there are possibility to build a company, are there any incubators or I don't know, some programs, not necessarily through Zindi or something through the government or even private co-working space in Harare or somewhere else?
Sorry, I did not quite get the question.
So if, let's say, I moved to Zimbabwe, I mentioned Harare because it's the major city, and I want to start my own company, and I am just a graduate in math from Ghana. And are there any programs that will help me, or do you know, or places, maybe a co-working space or incubators, so that I go there and I will meet somebody else, or I will get some support?
Okay, for now, I think let me hand this over to Leonard before I say anything.
Oh, thank you, Daphne. I think the ecosystem is not as mature as maybe you'd find in countries like Nigeria or South Africa, or maybe even Tunisia. So, for example, most of the universities only started having machine learning or artificial intelligence specific kind of programs only very, very recently. When, for example, when I started data science in about 2018, there was no university that offered what I would term a pure data program, right? So if you wanted to get into data science or into machine learning, you'd have to go through one of the other. So it's either you're doing mathematics or you're doing software engineering, computer science, and the likes. So only recently did we have universities offering programs in data science or in informatics, artificial intelligence. And so this is also reflected in industry, and as maybe as Daphne was saying earlier, one of the main objectives of our community groups is to try and bridge the academics and industry, because also a lot of the organizations in our country, have not really seen the benefits that these fields bring. So we're still in that space where we are still trying to convince these organizations, even governments, that these are fields that are going to be a huge part of our future, and we need to really start focusing on them right now. So the ecosystem is what we're still trying to put in place. So for example, with Data Science Zimbabwe, what we tried to do was start with the members, right? Start with people who are interested in data science, in machine learning, and artificial intelligence. Try to get these skills from somewhere, because at the time we couldn't get these at colleges or at universities. So we then partnered up with, for example, Data Camp, with NVIDIA, to try and capture those skills that other people also in the world are able to get. And then now that universities are starting to produce or at least offer some of these programs, then that we are going to have a lot more people who will be doing this locally. So Data Zimbabwe, for example, also has student groups. So within universities, we've put together some clubs, data science clubs, essentially. So programs of people who are doing other programs that are also interested in these particular fields, to try and capture this from the bottom up. But whilst we are doing that from a member's perspective, we are also trying to talk to corporates, to the government, either through the conferences, so like the Deep Learning Indaba that we had recently, or the Data Science Zimbabwe conference that's coming up in a few months. Trying to now get organizations, right, to say, okay, so this is something that you should really consider, having as part of the stuff that you're doing. And so then, as we do that, we hope that the ecosystem actually matures, and then also starts to help startups. Because yes, there are people who are very much interested in coming up with ideas and products and solutions, but because the ecosystem is very much not yet vibrant, it's hard, for example, to walk into a bank and say, I need financing for my startup, or even to just get, as Daphne is saying, the skills. A lot of people are still doing stuff. A lot of this stuff, they're doing these things maybe by themselves or in groups, friends. We went to school together. Do we really want to monetize the idea that we have? We are not really sure. I think we've got only one or two major companies that, if people say who's doing data science or machine learning or artificial intelligence in Zimbabwe, we can reliably point out to. So for example, like Econet, maybe one or two big banks, but it's not really at that point, where right now people are even struggling to get jobs. Companies just to come up and say, we've got positions for data science. So it's that ecosystem that we're still trying to build, and that's why we've been focusing a lot more on the communities, trying to build the skills, the capacity, and then maybe we'll be able to then go out to the organizations and say, there are people who are able to do this and this and this for you, if you need to employ concepts and techniques from data science, from machine learning and the likes. So we are hoping that we progress in the building of the ecosystem, and then maybe we'll then be able to get to a point where it becomes a lot more easier, or at least lobby government to say, okay, make it easy for this particular field, for people in this particular field to realize their goals. If a person wants to, start a company in artificial intelligence, then maybe let's fast track the business application, or to banks. Maybe put aside funding for people who are focusing on these types of technologies, and then maybe we'll also start seeing with the hubs, maybe some sort of response, because we have tried to have people in one place, but Harare is, I think, maybe to our economy, Harare is just one of the most vibrant place all over Zimbabwe. So it's hard to get people in smaller cities and towns, apart from just these data science clubs that are already at universities that are based in these locations. But we're hoping that with time, as we build more and more of the culture, more and more of the skills and the partnerships, then we should be able to get to a point where it should be easier to, if you want to start up startup, if you want to do research or maybe even have access to some of this data, because some of the data is available, it's just not where people have easy access to it. So maybe it's proprietary, maybe it's government data, and no one is willing to put it out there for people to use for their research or for their work. But as the ecosystem matures, we hope that we'll be able to get to a point where all those things come into place and the ecosystem doesn't.
Okay. Yeah, I know I think I have a view. And if I move back to the activity you were doing, like related to deep learning in Indaba, so I didn't participate, so I only I know the schedule for in the last July. So it was one day was about natural language processing, and another day was industry representative and women in data science. So with natural language processing, you mean like local languages, so not English. So I don't know the local language in Zimbabwe or in Eastern Africa, or what else? And also, I mean, women in data science motivation. What happened? Like these two things, and you had natural language processing and women in data science. What did you do?
Okay, so for that one, we firstly wanted to see how far we are as a country in terms of natural language processing, and also to be able to have different projects that different individuals are doing at the moment, to see what is happening in general in terms of translation of local languages.
As
And
with
for the
local
issue
languages.
yes.
And like which language? Because I don't know anything, and I assume other people watching this also. So, what are the local languages? Is there a main one? How many are they?
Okay, firstly, when we termed the local languages, it was more of broad because it was from the African perspective, narrowing down to the Zimbabwean perspective, to the country's perspective, to say, okay, from different local languages that exist in different African countries, and we had to narrow it down to the local languages that exist in our own country, like for instance, Shona, Ndebele, Tonga, and all the other Kalanga and all the other different languages that exist. You just wanted a perspective of what is being done by the different researchers, the different data scientists in terms of that area. So that is what was our main motive for that one. And then in terms of the women in data science, that segment, because we're trying to attract the women, we're trying to attract females into the field. So we had to have some motivation from different women who are in the field of data science, their journeys, so that at least they can attract someone else into that field, and someone might be motivated to actually start studying towards that area. So that one was sort of a motivation, because we want also women to take part in this journey, seeing that we have lesser women, and that's what we wanted to do.
Okay, this is interesting. And okay, I'm still curious about the natural language processing. So you had some tools, something on GitHub where you do, let's say, English Tonga or something like that, or maybe just analyzing of text. So what was the results for the natural language processing part?
Okay, so we had speakers like Leonard.
Aha, okay, so he can tell.
Yes, so he was part of the team. He was part of our guests, part of the speakers. So him and other people as well. There were different people who had their own perspective on that, who were giving talks, and we were trying to come up with ways of how we can try to improve on that aspect. So Leonard, as our speaker, can also have something to say concerning that part, I feel.
I guess maybe it would be good to bring Alex's attention to the Masakane project, which has been kind of like the torchbearer of NLP in African languages on the African continent. And the project has been, and I'm not sure if you are aware of it, but the project has really been very, very, let me find a very good word, because their work has been amazing, really. And they've been very, very much extensive and, like touching on many languages across the African continent. So their project has people from many different countries on the continent, including Zimbabwe. So also at the Deep Learning Indaba, we actually had one of the people who was working on the Zimbabwean language for the Masakane project, for Shona specifically, which is one of the major languages in Zimbabwe. So Masakane already has some tools that they've put out in the public domain for some of the languages on the African continent. And so I think with our deep learning Indaba, I think it was a matter of learning from the progress that has been done by other people across the continent, and seeing how we'll be able to also apply that to our context, because in that way, our new constitution from 2013 recognizes 13 languages as official languages, and there has been a bit of some movement in trying to making sure that, for example, government communications are inclusive and the likes, and we feel like that is a good platform to build on natural language processing. For example, when you want to translate documents from English to some of the less spoken languages that have almost become extinct, but which are now recognized also by our constitution. So these lessons from how Masakane, how Masakane went about their own project for many different languages across the continent, and how they were able to deploy some tools. I think there is one tool that they usually talk about, in which you can actually go and you'll be able to choose a translation to one of the many African languages that they've worked on. I think they were using a Jehovah's Witness data set to build the models that they were building, and so they're always looking for contributors and collaborators to try and expand the capabilities of these models for African languages. And so what we wanted to see what lessons could be learned from what Masakane and other initiatives on the African continent were doing, and how we could potentially apply those to an African to a Zimbabwean context. And so from my side, I wasn't doing a pure NLP presentation, but it was a lot more on how we can get the communities together, because like Masakane's project was built on their ability to put people together from many different countries, speaking many different languages, and getting them to work together. I think they've published documents also, then come up with these particular models, mobilized collaborators and the likes for various processes within the pipelines. So so that's in essence of what Deep Learning was trying to achieve.
Okay, that's interesting.
Thank you.
Then I will put maybe the last couple of things. So how do you see the future of machine learning in general in Zimbabwe, or from any point of view, like how do you see it will grow? How will be? What is the future?
Okay, so from me, I would say that we are still growing. That's what I can say. For the first thing, we are still growing as a country, and there's so much that still needs to be done. And also in terms of the communities that exist, I think they are doing a good job Data Science Zimbabwe is doing a good job, and other communities as well, which are trying to build data science. They're actually doing a good job to try and grow and strengthen machine learning in the country. So I feel like if we are consistent as communities in the country, then we are able to shift from one level to the next level. And also, if we are able to continue to collaborate with universities and also try to partner with organizations and try to develop even graduates, for example, from the institutions that can be able to go into the world, into the industry and apply real world situations, like be able to apply some real world stuff, then I feel like then we'll be at a stage where we are a bit advanced. So also I think there should be implementation of the program in different institutions so that at least people are able to apply and take part. So if there is none of these programs existing, then it means someone applying might not be able to venture into that field. So I feel like there should be more of these programs that are introduced. So if there could be a review of the programs and then there is introduction of more of the data science programs, then it would help as institutions to actually have graduates that can be able to go into the field and apply in different organizations in the industries. So that's what I can say. But so far, maybe because of the Education 5, which has now taken more of the STEM initiative, I feel like we are somewhere. Yes. So that's my thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe the other thing is individuals are, like Leonard has said, most individuals, if you look at it in the country, they're self-educating themselves. So this issue of having maybe a friend who knows something or a friend who recommends something and then people just self-educate, and also the certifications that people acquire, it's also helping together with the communities who are bringing people together, networking. So the networks, Data Science Zimbabwe networks with the Deep Learning IndabaX, then it means we're creating more networks in the country and we're spreading the growth of data science in general. So I think also that is helping.
So things like YouTube, Coursera, plus all the events with Zindi and IndabaX will, these two things, even if in the university programs are still changing slowly.
Yes, because what I've also noticed is that many individuals, if I may put it that way, many individuals are partaking in most of these competitions, in some of the competitions that come through. So it's also helping to grow the zeal, yes, for the growth.
Mm-hmm. Leonard, do you want to add something or comment about the future?
No, I think, yeah, Daphne has probably covered most of the key points. What I can say is we know we are still very much at the beginning of this revolution for Zimbabwe, and there's a lot of space to just get the buy-in from the various, from the important aspects that make up a vibrant ecosystem. Then we've got a lot of opportunity. We then have a lot of opportunities to do a lot of work. We preach inclusiveness, just trying to ensure that in this building of this ecosystem, no one is left behind. If anyone is interested in partaking or in being a part of the work that's being done, then we try by all means to ensure that the opportunities are available to them. Hence, also as Stephen has mentioned, the attempts to try and get partnerships, with leading organizations like DataCamp, with Media, with Zindi, to try and ensure that any person who's interested in wants to take part in the ecosystem, will have the opportunities. So.
Okay, thank you. So maybe the last question to both of you, and then I free you. It's like, what kind of advice will you give to younger, talented students that wants to do something in Zimbabwe for data science or machine learning, whatever, startup, everything? What kind of advice will tell them from where to start, what to do? I mean, you kind of partially already say that with these courses, but maybe you have other recommendation you want to give.
Okay, so maybe the advice I would give is that of networking. I feel networking is so important because someone will know someone who knows someone, and someone will know something that the other person will not know. So yes, it's all about connecting, it's all about networking, and I feel that people should network, and people should have teams, people should just be able to have teamwork, because I can learn something from Leonard can learn something from me, Leonard can introduce me to these other networks, and vice versa. So that's the advice I would give. And then for someone to be consistent in what they do, watch out for opportunities, just keep going and engage in more activities like the data science related activities if you want to grow.
Lena, you have any final remarks or advice?
Yeah, sure. I think I would say remain curious. I think a lot of data science work and data related work is built on, just having an interest in trying to understand how things are happening, and it means people are always curious. And so curiosity is also kept burning by learning. So opportunities to learn whenever they come through, be it from people you're in the same networks with or from other sources. Technology is a very fast-moving field. The things that we learned in data science when we started in 2017, some of them have been superseded by other things, new ideas that have come up. So you cannot always be in the same position. So if you are curious and if you continue to want to learn, and then in addition to what Daphne has already spoken about, ensuring that you're part of the community, collaborations, networks, and the likes, then those are the most important aspects of success in this particular field.
Okay, then I think we can close here. And if you have links that when I publish these links, do you want me to add, like for NLP or other initiative, they will be at the bottom of this video or on this video. And yeah, then it was nice talking to you, and I hope to meet you somewhere in next Indaba, or I don't know. With COVID, it's been complicated for me to come to Africa, but I think I will restart soon. Okay, then.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah. See you. Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.